Welcome to No Longer Conformed. I'm Erik Garthe, and we are studying Keep Looking Up When Life Gets You Down. In this session, we'll be looking at 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 16 to 18. Fine-tune your focus. When Paul wrote his second letter to the church in Corinth, he took a moment to reflect on his own life and ministry. It had been a difficult journey, to say the least. Paul battled unbelievers who fought the gospel message, his physical health, the challenges of aging and persecution. At the beginning of chapter 4 and near the end of it, he wrote, "We do not lose heart." But what a battle it had been to not lose heart. The only way Paul managed to keep fighting was to sharpen his focus every day. Look at our text, 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 16 down to verse 18, beginning with verse 16. "Therefore we do not lose heart, even though our outward man is perishing, yet the inward man is being renewed day by day. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, is working for us a far more exceeding an eternal weight of glory. While we do not look at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporary, but the things which are not seen are eternal." First, look at Paul, the most focused man in the early church ever knew, and apply his principles to our lives. First, choose the right finish line. Losing focus on the finish line of your life's purpose could be fatal to your spiritual health. Paul's eyes were on eternal glory as he tackled worthy goals in his present life. He was starting churches, spreading the gospel, and helping shape theology and doctrine for the first century church. But through all of it, he was focused on the finish line in eternity. Second, accept the imperfect nature of this life. Paul may have focused on the unseen, but the things he could see were dominating his calendar. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 8 and 9. "We are hard pressed on every side, yet not crushed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Struck down, but not destroyed." In verse 16 again, "Therefore we do not lose heart. Even though our outward man is perishing, our inward man is being renewed day by day." And then look at verse 7. "But we have this treasure in earthen vessels, that the excellence of the power may be of God and not us." Pottery was good for a while, but eventually it got broken. And once they were broken, there was no possible repair. Our bodies have just one shot at fulfilling our spiritual purpose before they become cracked, broken, and unusable. If you're waiting on the perfect job, the perfect spouse, the perfect team, the perfect church, or even the perfect way to work, you're going to wait a long time. So many people get frustrated by the imperfections of their surroundings because they haven't grasped. So many people get frustrated by the imperfections of their surroundings because they haven't grasped the fact that life is going to be filled with imperfections. There will be days when the toast is burned, when the traffic is just about at a standstill, or when an employee is sick. There will be angry customers and demanding bosses. That's the way life works. When Paul was in prison, he heard reports that there were some who were preaching against him. What was he to do with that discouraging news? What positive spin could Paul put on that report? It kind of justifies a little short-fused anger, doesn't it? Well, Philippians 1:18, what then? Only that in every way, whether in pretense or in truth, Christ is preached, and in this I rejoice, yes, and will rejoice. Paul wrote, hey, I'm good. At least the gospel is being preached. To accept that life isn't going to be perfect is one of the most important steps towards maturity and spiritual productivity. There is, however, a step which will take your entire lifetime to master, and that is, third, fine-tune your focus on Jesus Christ daily. Paul said the inward man is being renewed day by day. It was important for Paul to know that the fine-tuning of his faith would be a daily process. It's also important to understand that Paul wasn't being saved day by day. His salvation was settled just outside Damascus when he encountered and recognized Jesus as Lord. Beginning that day, he was in the day-by-day process of discipleship, growing spiritually, slowly but steadily toward maturity. Racing teams on the NASCAR circuit have precision-focused pit crews who change tires, refuel the car, make tiny adjustments in less than 15 seconds, multiple times a race. During the race, the goal is to fine-tune the car. Piano tuners take deliberate, precise steps to move each note to optimum sound. Periodic updates on your computer add or change tiny portions of your computer programs for better performance. Pilots make course directions in very small, safe increments, fine-tuning what is already good. You and I are in a race. Maybe the pit crew analogy works best. You're surrounded by a team ready to help with the daily fine-tuning. And the technology of our day means we can master this work faster than any generation before us. Ours is the first generation of Christians to have easy access to multiple translations of the Bible and endless study helps to understand the ancient words. Only since 1948 has there been a modern-day Israel in place, modeling so much of the Jewish heritage contained in both the Old Testament and New Testament. We have instant communication tools. We can understand more about the words of the Bible than any generation in history of Christians. If you want to do your best in the race set before you, your best effort is required, and it'll be needed every day. Here's one of the most important concepts of fine-tuning. The process requires a bit of time, some space, and a safe place for reflection. Before returning to Egypt to begin his next 40 years, Moses was fine-tuned with a 40-year sabbatical tending his father-in-law's flocks. He grew up in Egypt for the first 40 years of his life. He had no idea that God was using those sabbatical years to prepare him for the last and most important season of his life. Jesus often withdrew to the quiet places for the specific purposes of prayer and reflection. Paul took 3 years to reflect upon a new theology after his salvation experience near Damascus. Whether you're at a literal halfway point in your life or whether you're just feeling a need to reflect upon your second half, the same practices apply. Find some space, take some time, and ask the big questions about your life's significance. And when you find the answers, you'll be better tuned to play your second half. You have a great day.